By far the biggest mistake I see any beginner piano player make is not understanding key signatures. It's one thing watching a YouTube video, having someone saying what it is. It's a completely different way to really understand how it works, but more importantly how you can use it to learn and develop. Now if we only look at the white keys, we have 7 unique notes. And as you can see, there are a lot of C notes, a lot of F notes, and so forth. Now each of these 7 notes have a specific feeling. That's kind of what makes them unique. Notice that if I stop playing on the B note here, do you hear the tension here? Do you hear how unsatisfying it is stopping here and how you really want to hear another note? Now if I just play C afterwards, do you realize how the tension goes away? It feels like we have landed somewhere. It feels like we are home. Let's listen to it one more time. Notice how we get a lot of tension ending on the B note, and notice how the tension releases ending on the C note. Also notice that this is the case no matter where I play the unique notes on the piano. Alright, so now we know that different notes have unique feelings. That's a very good start. But yet there's not too much we can do with that information, right? Because we need to understand why that is. So let's give a number to each note, starting from 1 on C and counting upwards. These notes together create the key of C major, which creates a very happy and uplifting sound you might have heard before. In this case, we name C1 because, as you previously heard, it releases the tension and feels like home. It's basically the heart of the key that other notes are drawn towards. And now this is so awesome. The reason C feels like home is because of the distance we have on these 7 unique notes. This is something that we can see a lot clearly if we think in steps. When you play the piano, you can go a half step, which is the absolute closest note, either up or down. And now if we do some quick maths here, 2 half steps create 1 whole step. So if you go 2 half steps in any direction, you can also say that you just went a whole step. Alright, so we know that the C major scales start from C, and if we take a careful look on how we actually move between each note, we notice that we start from C, then we go a whole step up to the 2nd D note, a whole step up to the 2nd E note, then to the 4th F note there's only a whole step in between. Then we go a whole step to the G note, a whole step to the A note, a whole step to the B note, and then if we want to land on C again, we move a half step. Now when you start from any note and move in this distance, you create a very specific feel. And whether you listen to pop music, movie songs, games or hip hop, you have heard this feel before. And no matter what note you start from, if you start from F, if you start from D, you create the same feelings for the 7 unique notes. Notice that if I play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star is not necessarily a specific set of notes, it's a specific set of feelings. Notice that if I play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, I can play it in C major, I can play it in F major, and I can play it in D major. As long as I have this specific distance, no matter what note I start from, each of the 7 unique notes will have the same feeling that will be the same. That's why 1, 1, 5, 5, 6, 6, 5 sounds the same in any major key. Basically now it's like me trying to explain you how to ride a bike. It will make so much more sense when you apply it in action. And depending on what order you combine them in, those feelings together will create a unique melody. That's when I played Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the same numbers always felt the same, because I played the same feelings in the same order, just in different keys. Now if we play the numbers from 1 to 1, we create a very major uplifting sound. However, if we play the numbers from 6 to 6, we create a more minor and sad sound. Most music is based upon one of these two. If it sounds more happy, it will be in the major key. If it sounds more emotional and sad, it will be in the minor key. The difference here is that depending how you play, either 1 or 6 will be perceived as home. And this means that the other notes will kind of be drawn towards that note, and when you reach it, you will kind of release the previous tension. Notice here that when the tension releases from C, you have this more major uplifting vibe, right? And when I mostly play 6 and releases the tension there, once the tension it releases, it feels more sad and emotional. So if you play the numbers 1 to 1, you will create a more major uplifting sound, creating the major key from that note. Now if you play 6 to 6, you will create a more minor and sad sound, creating the minor key from that note. Now even though they use the same unique notes, depending on where you mostly play, one of these two will be perceived as the home. Notice here in this example how all notes are drawn towards C, and once I play it, the tension releases. And notice if I mostly play from 6 instead, it will feel like all the notes are drawn towards that place. Here again the tension from the other notes releases when I play 6, but the overall vibe is a lot more sad and emotional compared to the more happy uplifting place we are when mostly playing from 1. So when you listen to music, you have probably noticed that it will either feel more happy uplifting or more sad and emotional. That's because you're always feeling this home note, you're always feeling how the other notes are drawn towards that place, and the 1 home is a happy uplifting place, the 6 home is a more emotional and sad place. And you might notice that when you listen to music, you will recognize one of these two feelings. It will either feel more happy, uplifting, and even create the vibe that you hear just playing the notes back and forth. Or it will be more sad and emotional, really feeling like the vibe just playing 6 to 6 back and forth. So we have a very specific distance of notes that we just kind of learn to be perceived as natural. In this specific distance, we have 2 places where the notes can be drawn towards, either from 1 or either from 6. And it's when the notes reaches one of these 2 places, the tension really releases. And the feeling can be more uplifting from 1, more emotional, sad from 6. And it doesn't matter what specific notes we play this from, if you use this distance, the key will always feel the same. Now just imagine how much freedom you would feel really being confident with this. When you listen to a piece of music, you can hear the home. You can hear this place that all the other notes are drawn towards, and you recognize if it's major or if it's minor. You are very confident with the major and minor keys, and you know that each one has 7 unique notes that create 7 unique feelings. You are so comfortable with these 7 unique feelings that even before you start playing the piano, you can recognize the emotions the melody create, and you instantly know how to play it. You have probably seen piano players online listening to a song and then instantly playing it with both hands. This is exactly how it works. So practicing this is not only the key to understand key signatures, it will also create your entire bass pillar for your entire piano playing. Now here comes the most important exercise you can do for really practicing and learning understanding keys. And that is, once you know what key you are in, I want you to write down the numbers of the specific melody you play. Then I want you to play the same numbers in another key. Here when I play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, the tension releases on C. It's a very major uplifting sound, so I know that I most likely play within the key of C major. Then play the same melodic line in another key. and make sure to keep in mind of what number creates what note in that specific key. So once you notice that the tension of the melody releases, you are on the home note that can create the major or minor key from it. I usually prefer transposing only to the same key for quite a few times until that feels very comfortable, then slowly progressing to a new one and so forth. The same with the melody, I start with very small movements. As I get comfortable, they become longer and longer and longer, so I slowly challenge myself more as I get more experience to handle this. Now, as you play more songs, you want to repeat the exercise. You progress it by choosing longer melodic lines and play it in different keys. You also progress it by introducing new keys over time. Now, once you finally start to get fairly comfortable playing all the different keys, I want you to set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes, then transpose your current melody and see how many different keys you can play it in within that time. Once you have reached this stage, make sure you practice different keys so you not only practice the same ones over and over again. Here as well, aim to challenge yourself more and more by taking out longer and longer parts of the song, but also by managing to play it in more and more keys within the time limit. Now take a careful listen to this example. Isn't it amazing how even though I play the same melody over and over again, the feeling is so different? The reason that is that I changed the chord I play underneath. You might have realized that when you play melodies with your right hand, most often you will play harmony or chords with your left hand. And there are these chords that really affect how you perceive and feel listening to the melody. So obviously they are really awesome. And there are different types of chords creating different types of feelings. And basically what a chord is just a distance from any note. So if I play a C note, I can play a specific distance from that C note to create that C chord. The most common types of chord are major and minor. You will play some variation of them in 99% of the cases. So it's a very good place to start. So again, it's just a distance creating a specific feel. If you play a note, then you skip 2 whole steps, and then 3 half steps. You have the distance of a major chord. And it's the same no matter if you play it from C, from F, from D, or so forth. And the minor chord is the same. If you play any note, then you play 3 half steps, 2 whole steps, then you play a minor sounding chord from that note. So in this case, this is a C minor. Notice how the major chords are more happy, uplifting, and the minor ones are more sad and emotional, just as with the keys. Now, if you know this formula, if you can skip 2 whole steps, which is 4 half steps, and then 3 half steps, then you can play any major chord. And again, if you reverse it, you can play any minor chord. So now you can play the bass of 99% of the chords you will play. And when you play in a key, the bass shape of the chord will be that you play one note, you skip one key note, play the next one, you skip one key note, play the next one. And since you have 7 notes to start from, you can create 7 different types of chords. And now because of the distance of the chords in the key, we will naturally create different types of chords. Some will be minor and some will be major. So if you play a chord from the 1st, 4th and 5th note, they will always be major. If you play a chord from the 2nd, 3rd or 6th notes, they will always be minor. Now 7 is a bit special because that creates a diminished chord. It's pretty rare, so we don't really have to talk about it right now. It's good to know that you usually write chords in Romanian letters, not only because it looks cool, but also that you can write the major chords in capital letters and then the minor chords in lowercase. And now here's what's really cool. Since you mostly will play 7 notes within a key, and you know that these are the types of chords you will play, let's say you are in the key of C major, and you notice that the bass sounds like G. Then if you want to play a chord from that, you can see that G is 5. 5 is major, which means that you will most likely play G major, and it will sound absolutely amazing. So as you learn a song, I want you to write down the numbers of the chords you play. Start very simple, just writing down one chord, then progressively challenge yourself more as you get comfortable. Once you've done so, I want you to choose another key and play the same chord number in that key. And here as well, I recommend always choosing the same key until it feels very comfortable, then progressively introduce more and more as you progress. So if I play Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and I play the chords F, G, A minor, G, I notice that in the key of C major, which I play at the moment, I play 4, 5, 6, 5. Now I can play this number in F major, I can play this number in D major, and so forth. And keep in mind that this is kind of like learning to ride a bike. You can learn so much theory, you can talk so much about how it works, but you will really start to understand it when you actually practically challenge yourself by playing in different keys, transposing different melodies, different chords, and so forth. The key here is to progressively challenge yourself, always be a tiny bit outside your comfort zone. But make sure to not make it overwhelming starting out so you lose motivation and focus. So do a very tiny bit of the melody, a tiny bit of the chords, just to one key. Then you can introduce more as you get comfortable.